Hello and welcome to the first of our writing exercises that we're going to do here. This is something that I've wanted to do because I feel like it would be a good example of how to write, as well as a good way for me to get better at writing under certain circumstances. Today we are going to be looking through an exercise that we have from this book. It's called Now Write Screenwriting. From Brad Riddle. He has what is called a note card R&D exercise. He is written feature scripts for MTV, Paramount, and Universal. So basically, what we are going to do in this exercise is we have 15 blank. We started with blank note cards. And what the exercise is you take the 15 blank note cards, you separate them into groups of 5, and on the first stack of 5, you write the name of a prominent actor. So we did that. I didn't do this, so I have no idea what is on these cards. That way I kind of wanted to really push myself to be creative in this endeavor. So I had my sister write anything, the things that are on these cards, so I have no idea. First time I'm going to be seeing them is today. So then on the second stack, we're going to write the name of a genre of film or story. Pretty self-explanatory. We have 5 of each, so 5 prominent actors, 5 genres, and on the third stack, we have the name of an interesting location. I have no idea what her interpretation of that is, so we're going to find out today. And the rest of the exercise goes on to say shuffle them vigorously because, you don't want to get the one that you obviously know of. So instead of shuffling, I don't have to shuffle because I don't know what's on them. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be kind of creating a treatment through the 3 cards that we pick. So I have my laptop here open to a Google Doc, and we're going to be using what we get through these cards to create a treatment for a story. It's probably going to be somewhere around 2 to 5 pages, a really short treatment. I'm imagining probably more of a short film or something like that, as opposed to trying to create a treatment for a full-length feature film, because that would take a long time, and this, I don't want to be that long of a video. So without further ado, we're going to pick up our first stack, which I don't know what's on these cards, so I'm going to fan them out to you. And I believe this is the prominent actors. Am I right? I am right. So we're just going to pick one of these prominent actors. I'm left-handed, so I tend to go with the left, but I'm kind of thinking we go with this one right here on the right, because you can't just always go one way. So it's upside down. That's right side up. I don't know. I can't read. It's backwards. Wonderful dogs. Oh, we got Giancarlo Esposito. Lovely. Yes, that I'm not mad at all. That's cool. That's cool. With our second stack, so we have Giancarlo Esposito, obviously a prominent actor working today. That's cool. I like that guy. Second one, I'm assuming is our genre. Okay, I'm writing that one. Once again, no idea what's on these cards. I'm gonna go left this time because, you got to go both ways. You can't just. But I'm gonna go all the way this time. I'm gonna go full left, and see what genre we got for this one. Memoir. That I was not expecting as a genre of story. So, Giancarlo Esposito and Memoir as our prominent actor and genre of story. What is? Oh, those are the discarded ones, right? I was getting worried that there would be a fourth. So now we have our interesting location in which this memoir with Giancarlo Esposito is going to take place. Oh man, I think we got to go right down the middle this time. Right down the middle. So, uh, Highland Park, California. Kind of grew up around there, so have an idea of what we're looking at here. Wow, a memoir. Okay, so Giancarlo Esposito as our presumably our main character, a memoir as our genre, and then Highland Park, California as our interesting location. Um, I'm probably gonna start with the memoir part of it and figure out what that kind of looks like first, and then start to flesh it out with Highland Park, and then Giancarlo will kind of be the idea I have in my mind for the main character. So we'll start with memoir. So after a little bit of deliberation and figuring out kind of how I want a memoir to be done, I've kind of come to the idea of combining memoir and Highland Park. So what I'm thinking of is memoir, at least when we're talking about something that is fictional or, you know, story-wise, right? Not necessarily, because we don't have, it's not like, I mean, I'm sure Giancarlo could write and make a beautiful memoir, but I'm not Giancarlo, and this is not the story of him. So I kind of want him to be my main character. And so I'm thinking more like a biopic. Um, and initially I was thinking about crime because of course I'm thinking about crime. If you know, if you want to have conflict, you add crime into your story. So um, but after thinking about crime for a little bit more, I thought maybe more sophisticated than just straight. You know, he was part of the seedy underbelly of Highland Park um, initially, and then I think I don't want him to be the kind of person that is like the narrator. I don't want him to be yeah, I don't want it to be like Stand By Me, where we have this narrator that is Giancarlo, and then we have the story that takes place with the kids, right? I want him to play the main character, theoretically, right? I want him to be on screen for the most part. So what I came up with, or what I'm thinking of, is using Highland Park as the past, potentially the past that is not quite. The best past for someone who is trying to be a politician. So I am thinking of having this kind of be a biopic of a potential politician or a politician that is maybe going for mayor, going to try to go into politics and whatnot, and then they have something from Highland Park. Maybe that's where they grew up, and so there might be certain things that come to light about their past, and so they kind of have to wrestle with the fact that are they going to kind of like fold in their campaign and give in to that sort of thing, or are they going to try to really take it over and kind of do the rags to riches? So something like that, where they can get out of the potential seedy underbelly. Maybe there's a case that has been reopened during the time of their campaign due to new evidence that has come out, and this kind of puts a damper on their campaign to try to become mayor of Los Angeles. He grew up in Highland Park. He grew up in the city and wants to see it, you know, done right. So he's trying to be that person. However, the obstacle is not just another politician, because I don't want it to be man versus man. I want it to be Giancarlo really finding himself and the redefining of oneself. That is kind of what memoir is. People write memoirs because they want to uh, really understand who they are, not necessarily for us, the audience who reads or watches memoirs and biopics and whatnot, but it really is for that person to kind of unpack their past and start to see, okay, this is who I am. This is what caused me to be like I am right now. Where Giancarlo can kind of really have to come to the terms with who he is and who he was in his past. I don't necessarily want to make him like a someone who was running around with the gangs, or I don't want him to be a criminal in his past per se, but perhaps he was, at a party and something happened at this party. So that could be some point of obstacle for him in his campaign that can come up where he is involved in some way or potentially involved in some way, which starts to lay that seed of doubt in his constituents and in the people of Los Angeles who are voting to kind of see, well, I wonder if this person is really who he says he is, because this potential, this case is coming up in court. The potential obstacle of this story is the fact that he is so tied to Highland Park. I've started to come up with more of a fleshed out idea. Now, initially, I know I said that I was thinking this would probably be more of a short film. Yeah, probably not. At least not the treatment that I'm thinking of. So the idea has kind of taken a more widespread turn. I think I think it could work more as a feature film because there's just too much that happens right now in the ideas that I have, or at least the idea for the story that I have. So much of it has stayed the same with Giancarlo's character being the person who's running for mayor, but I kind of have added a secondary character. His name is Hector, right now at least, his campaign manager. So I kind of think that this would be a cool spot to put them as brothers, where you would have them both be really in tune with each other, having grown up in Highland Park. Not literal brothers, but, brothers as in they've, spent so much time together that they really would consider each other their brother. So Hector, his campaign manager, would kind of be his would be the person helping him out, right? Obviously, that's what a campaign manager does. I'd have to do a little bit more research on like campaigns and campaign managers and the relationship there, but that would be the idea, as so that you can have, homegrown people, right? Homegrown people, they would kind of sell themselves as those grassroots, really like, people who have been grown up in this city who want to, start to lead the city and start to make the city better, right? So that would be their approach that they take to their campaign. But what I started to pick up was we need something to kind of, like I said, the obstacle, right? Maybe it's a case from back in the day. Well, I kind of have started to come up with this idea of maybe 25 years ago. Both of them were at this party, and a few doors down, or potentially, the house behind this party, where this party is taking place in Highland Park. Someone went missing. There was a missing case person. Someone got kidnapped. Something bad happened to someone, right? And so this, for whatever reason, haven't figured out the details on this one yet, but that's what, second drafts and third drafts are for, right? This is just the treatment. So for whatever reason, that case kind of went dormant for a while, and then during this campaign, that case was reopened as a result of some new evidence, maybe a new eyewitness of a young person having seen some people, the people who potentially did the kidnapping, right? So, the idea is that this would kind of start to call into question Giancarlo's character's morality and whether or not he was a part of this, right? Because we all know that politicians will literally use anything to try to gain an edge, right? So his reliability starts to come into question here. And what would happen, at least in the idea as it goes right now, is that about midway through the film, Hector, his campaign manager, would get called into court. Now, it would turn out that Hector was at the party, yes, but he was one of the people who did the kidnapping. So, this would kind of turn a lot of things on its head, especially for our main character, Giancarlo's character, who I haven't named, but we're going to call him Giancarlo for now. So Giancarlo, I hope I'm okay with being on first name basis with him. I haven't met him. But So Giancarlo's character would kind of really, his world would start to be turned upside down, especially starting with the case being reopened and his questionability or his reliability being questioned, and then once his campaign manager Hector turns out to be one of the people who was a part of the criminals who did this act, that would really start to throw his world upside down, because not only is he losing a campaign manager, but his brother as well. So that would kind of be that would be the big midpoint turning point where things just really start to go from kind of looking bad to looking really bad, because now he has to cut ties with his campaign manager, and so that starts to affect his campaign. It starts to go on the decline. He has to start picking up that responsibility, or give it to someone new who doesn't really know him as well. That kind of would flip the entirety of Giancarlo's world upside down, and even call into question him even more. However, the real kicker here is the idea that it would turn from just a campaign style of story into also a courtroom drama, to kind of really give us a new sense of, not direction as in we're like totally 180ing, but we're really giving us a new avenue on which to take this story. If you find this a lot in good films and in good stories, where around the midpoint things will not drastically change, but there will be a dramatic change in which the story takes a very different route than it initially was going on. We're not going to make Hector an evil person where he did this as, a result of his own free will, and he's just has malice toward whoever they were kidnapping. But maybe it was one of their associates who was maybe not on the good side of the law, kind of asked him, "Hey, come with me." They start to go down the street, and then at that point, it is that person tells him like what they're going to do, and therefore gives Hector the ultimatum of, well, you know we're going to do this, we know we're going to do this, and if you don't help us do this, then you're a loose end. Ergo, we have to take care of you too. So you either do this with us or you die situation. So that way we can have Hector actually commit the crime, but we kind of throw a monkey wrench in there where he's not evil. He was kind of forced into it, and for the last 25 years hasn't really had to deal with the reciprocations of that, because he was forced into it, right? So he doesn't really have, or we might even write into it where he has that guilt, and depending on how much of him we show in this story, that could be something that really turns into its own little subplot. But anyway, so the idea would be, now that during this campaign, Hector has kind of admitted, yes, I was a part of this thing, well, those other people who are a part of it too are still alive, and they are going to jail. Hector is also going to jail because he was a part of it, right? That's kind of how our judicial system works. Or maybe it doesn't. I don't know. I have to do more research on that. But that's part of, second draft, third draft, stuff like that. But that way, we have a clear sense of this new purpose for Giancarlo's character of, I have to keep my brother alive. These people are going to the same prison as him, or they have friends who are going to be in the prison that my brother is going to be at, and therefore I have to pay, I have to bribe the guards, I have to make sure through courtroom drama and whatnot that my brother gets into a safe place, or that my brother has protection from these people. So I really thought that we could take this in a different direction, but along those same lines. It's not a 180. It's more like a 45 or 90-degree turn, where we're still kind of getting towards a destination. We're not going backwards, but we are definitely taking a different route than we initially started with. So that's kind of what I'm thinking of, and then that way, in the second half of this film, we could really show Giancarlo's character really being stretched too thin. I think that that might be a really cool way to kind of give this story new life halfway through. And at the same time, not pulling the rug out from under our audience, but like effectively trying to give them something totally new to think about, right? It's not Giancarlo is evil, and it's not necessarily that Hector is evil, but Hector was a part of this, and this is why, Giancarlo has to now adjust his plan and what he's doing now to really take more focus on the Hector side of things, really making it a personal story for Giancarlo's character. I will put in the description a full treatment. So if you want to read that, you can just go down in the description, and I'll put a link to a full treatment in the description so that you can read kind of the fully fleshed out version, or at least as fleshed out as it will be by the time this video comes out. Version of this story, but to kind of reiterate things, we totally picked Giancarlo Esposito, one of my favorite actors working today, one of my favorite actors, period. He's also just a great person, too. We got Memoir, which for our purposes is a biopic ish. So that was what we got for our genre. And then we got Highland Park, California, which is a place I grew up around. My dad grew up around. So I have a pretty good knowledge of kind of the area and what's going on there. Even still to this day, I kind of go back and visit there once, twice a year. So that's what we got for our random picks from these three stacks. So the story that we've gotten so far is this idea that Giancarlo is playing this politician who's trying to become mayor of Los Angeles, and his campaign manager is his friend and kind of lifelong friend or brother, Hector. The big obstacle for this story would be their campaign is kind of not halted, but a damper is really put on it as a result of a case that was reopened that was initially about 25 years prior, where someone went missing. There was a kidnapping happening that took place close around where they were on that night. They were both, Hector and Giancarlo's character were at a party very close to where it happened, so there comes into question as to whether or not they knew anything or whatnot. Politicians try to just use anything they can to try to cut the legs out from under each other. So the story would come out that Giancarlo was actually innocent and just kind of was at the party just chilling, but Hector was coerced into being a criminal and actually being a part of the kidnapping, coerced against his will, basically forced, right? So we're not making him an evil person. But this information would come out around the midpoint of the film. This would kind of really be the turning point and turn this story into one that goes from just a campaign style story to a campaign and court room drama, where now Giancarlo's real goal is to keep Hector, his brother, practically alive, because the other people who did this crime, who coerced him into doing this crime, are still out there, and they know people in the prison. So having to keep Hector just alive for being a snitch, because he would tell the truth, because he is a good person, but trying to keep him alive would really stretch Giancarlo's character really thin, kind of make him go to that wit's end that we need him to get to right before we go into that third act and get into our climax. So that's kind of the story we have so far. Like I said, again, I'll put a link to the full. It'll probably be a page and a half, maybe 2-page treatment. It's going to be, a rough treatment, so it's not. You're probably never going to see something like this for professional film, but this is my, this is an exercise for me to really take something that I never knew about until today. I mean, obviously I knew about these individual things, but putting them together was the real exercise, and really kind of trying to create a story from these things and making it work all together and not redrawing. But it's a fun exercise to get your creative mind flowing and really push yourself to try to. It's not like a random generator, but it is, push yourself to try to come up with some ideas for things that you wouldn't normally come up with. But anyway, yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Let me know what your ideas for a Giancarlo Esposito led story in Highland Park with a biopic or memoir. Thank you for watching, and hit subscribe if you haven't already. Have a good one.